Hello, kids. It's time to read again. Today, we're going to read about Miss Jane Goodall, one of my favorite people. She is an animal rights activist, and she is famous for making some terrific discoveries about wild African chimpanzees. She did that by sitting amongst them. By gaining their trust and sitting amongst them. Unlike before, where all the observations were made from great distances. The information I found about her is from biography.com, another one of my favorite websites. And given that I want to keep this reading session relatively short, I am going to read about mainly her discoveries and her impact in Africa. You can find the link below to the entire text about Jane Goodall. And I used dictionary.com to look up the definitions for the vocabulary that I want to talk about in the back. So here we go. Early life. Jane Goodall was born on April 3rd, 1934 in London, England, to Mortimer Herbert Goodall, a business person and motor racing enthusiast, and the former Margaret Myfanwy Joseph, who wrote novels under the name Van Morris Goodall. Along with her sister Judy, Goodall was reared in London and Bournemouth, England. Her fascination with animal behavior began in early childhood. In her leisure time, she observed native birds and animals, making extensive notes and sketches, and read widely in the literature of zoology and ethology. From an early age, she dreamed of traveling to Africa to observe exotic animals in their natural habitats. Her first attempts to observe closely a group of chimpanzees failed. She could get no nearer than 500 yards before the chimps fled. After finding another suitable group of chimpanzees to follow, she established a non-threatening pattern of observation, appearing at the same time every morning on the high ground near a feeding area along the Kokoumbi stream valley. The chimpanzees soon tolerated her presence and, within a year, allowed her to move as close as 30 feet to their feeding area. After 2 years of seeing her every day, they showed no fear. An offer came to her in search of bananas. Discoveries. Goodall used her newfound acceptance to establish what she termed the Banana Club, a daily systematic feeding method she used to gain trust and to obtain a more thorough understanding of everyday chimpanzee behavior. Using this method, she became closely acquainted with more than half of the reserve's 100 or more chimpanzees. She imitated their behaviors, spent time in the trees, and ate their foods. By remaining in almost constant contact with the chimps, she discovered a number of previously unobserved behaviors. She noted that chimps have a complex social system, complete with ritualized behaviors and primitive but discernible communication methods, including a primitive language system containing more than 20 individual sounds. She is credited with making the first recorded observations of chimpanzees eating meat and using and making tools. Tool making was previously thought to be an exclusively human trait, used until her discovery to distinguish humans from animals. She also noted that chimpanzees throw stones as weapons, use touch and embraces to comfort one another, and develop long-term familial bonds. The male plays no active role in family life, but is part of the group's social stratification. The chimpanzee caste system places the dominant males at the top. The lower castes often act obsequiously in their presence, trying to ingratiate themselves to avoid possible harm. The male's rank is often related to the intensity of his entrance performance at feedings and other gatherings. Ethologists had long believed that chimps were exclusively vegetarian. Goodall witnessed chimps stalking, killing, and eating large insects, birds, and some bigger animals, including baby baboons and bushbacks. On one occasion, she recorded acts of cannibalism. In another instance, she observed chimps inserting blades of grass or leaves onto termite hills to lure worker or soldier termites onto the blade. Sometimes, in true tool-maker fashion, they modified the grass to achieve a better fit. Then they used the grass as a long-handled spoon to eat the termites. Impact on Africa. Goodall's fieldwork led to the publication of numerous articles and 5 major books. She was known and respected first in scientific circles and, through the media, became a minor celebrity. In the Shadow of Man, her first major text, appeared in 1971. The book, essentially a field study of chimpanzees, effectively bridged the gap between scientific treatise and popular entertainment. Her vivid prose brought the chimps to life, although her tendency to attribute human behaviors and names to chimpanzees struck some critics being as manipulative. Her writings reveal an animal world of social drama, comedy, and tragedy where distinct and varied personalities interact and sometimes clash. After attending a 1986 conference in Chicago that focused on the ethical treatment of chimpanzees, she began directing her energies toward educating the public about the wild chimpanzee's endangered habitat and about the unethical treatment of chimpanzees that are used for scientific research. To preserve the wild chimpanzee's environment, Goodall encourages African nations to develop nature-friendly tourism programs, a measure that makes wildlife into a profitable resource. She actively works with businesses and local governments to promote ecological responsibility. Her efforts on behalf of captive chimpanzees have taken her around the world on a number of lecture tours. She outlined her position strongly in her 1990 book, Through a Window. The more we learn of the true nature of non-human animals, especially those with complex brains and corresponding complex social behavior, the more ethical concerns are raised regarding their use in the service of man, whether this be in entertainment, as pets, for food, in research laboratories, or any of the other uses to which we subject them. This concern is sharpened when the usage in question leads to intense physical or mental suffering, as he saw the future with regard to vivisection. Okay, so I have, like I said, I've chosen the main parts that I want to read with you. And the rest of the text is actually pretty exciting as well. So go take a look and continue reading for yourselves. Let's look at some words now. Cannibalism. This is a horrifying word, actually. It just means that people eating people, or a kind of animal species feeding the same kind of animal species. Cannibals is the noun. Stalking. When you stalk someone, you are harassing someone, you are following them, you are tracking them down, you are threatening them, you are making them scared. So when you are stalking someone, you are trying to threaten them. Treatise. This is a formal kind of writing that is shorter than a thesis but longer than a term paper. Interesting word to use. Ingratiate. To win favors, to build good relationships, to make sure that you are on good terms with other people. Obsequious means that you are subordinated to someone. You are obedient. You are in deference to someone. Discernible. To discern. Discernible, you are easily noticed, that people can pick you out. People can easily distinguish you or what you have done, or some physical aspects of something. Okay, kids, that's it for today. I hope you liked reading about Jane Goodall. We'll see you next time. Take good care.